A RTP ainda tem o prazer de estar à conversa com John Romero, criador de Doom, Wolfenstein 3D, Quake e muitos outros jogos que são uma grande influência para toda a indústria do gaming. John, thank you so much for being here with us. And right off the bat, I want to ask you a question that has probably been asked a lot of times before, but what exactly was the biggest challenge when creating Doom?
Jeez, God, before we made the game, we made the list of things that were going to be in the game, so we kind of knew what we were needing to do. Biggest challenge had to have been two things, probably the creation of the levels to make a type of level that no one had ever seen before, because games were just 90-degree maze games, 90-degree turn wall, corners. So Doom's level design was a massive challenge, and then the speed of the rendering on the screen, on the programming side, that was a big challenge. And to get that speed, John Carmack had to come up with the binary space partition, BSP technique, to make that go really fast. So those were the two biggest things. We don't even count multiplayer as being a giant challenge compared to those two things.
So, and if Doom was created like today, on the days of today, would you say that the challenge would be the same? That makes sense?
Well, if Doom was made today, design is advanced so far beyond then that if it was made today, we would have to go, innovate in design today. Like, what is the status of FPSs today? And then we would have to then innovate so much to have that kind of an impact that it changes all games beyond it, right? So it would be a ton of innovation today to figure out what is it that no one's doing that we could put into a game that everyone will do. That was what we did back then. It's very hard to do. Otherwise, everyone's trying to do that,
So we've come a long way, and now games take like a huge company to make, a huge budgets to make, and a lot of time. How do you look at at that evolution? I mean, you said you created Doom on an entire year. You started, I think, January and then on November with 5 people.
Yeah.
I mean, today that's inconceivable. So how do you look at that evolution? Like entire companies doing games right now.
Well, the evolution of the industry has been from indies of single people up to massive teams of thousands of people.
Yeah.
But not all games are that big, right? So what's happened is, as the industry's evolved, these AAA games have come into existence. Not all games are AAA. So there's still a massive range of one-person games to thousands of people games still. We have things like Minecraft that change everything, and one person did it.
And it's one of the highest-selling games I've
exactly.
ever seen.
So it is still, you can still have one indie out there with an amazing design idea, with the technical competence to carry it out, to define a new leading edge for games. That can still happen, and it's going to. Absolutely will happen. We did not foresee the Facebook bubble, right? We didn't know that Minecraft was coming out. So these things will happen. Like, that's the way it works. Like, there's a mutant, and then something amazing comes out, and everyone wants to do that now. And it will happen. It's just, like, inevitable.
So that's why you're like such a lover for indie games right now, and you're working on a
because that's where it comes from. That's where it comes from. Like when you look at like even the big AAA shooters that are throwing battle royale in there as a mode, that's from PUBG. Like that came from a much smaller game that was this idea, and then Fortnite, right? They took a game that already existed and put that in there so they could win. And so, because it's like this mode that's proven, people love this new way of playing deathmatch. Now the AAA games are including it. It's just a mode. It's not a genre, right? But things like that will happen. Like, here's a cool mode. Now everyone wants it. It's like, okay, these things are all part of the evolution of games. But there will be a game that comes out that changes everything again. Like the way that Minecraft did. Exactly. Another Minecraft, another Doom, another Pac-Man, we'll have that. And, you can always count on it. It's just like watching when it's going to happen. Minecraft was developed in plain sight for a long time. Anyone could have seen that coming. It was happening live on a website. You could play new builds of Minecraft
but
all day. Nobody was paying attention. There's a bunch of indies paying attention, but nobody with influence went and looked at that and went, this is a whole new way of playing a game, just shows it's hard for people to recognize that kind of brilliance, you know?
Yeah. So some of your creations are still considered like an industry standard today. Looking at the FPS genre right now, which one would you say that is your favorite FPS right now at the moment? That came out in the last few years.
Ghost Recon Breakpoint's my favorite.
Okay, you just talked about. Okay. That's
Yeah,
from which year?
it came out in 2019, but it is, you know, now it's 2 years later after it came out. So massively updated. It's super fun. DLC after DLC. I get the yearly pass. You know, since they have the yearly pass, bam, I'm in it.
It's that game that you're there just waiting for it to be released.
Yeah, I can't wait for more stuff to just come out for it. And they just had the 20th anniversary. They announced all kinds of stuff. They also announced a game that's coming out that's a battle royale Ghost Recon. It's called Frontline. So I'm excited about that when it comes out. But the thing I like about Ghost Recon is just like it's more single player as well. So if you want single player, which I love, or you can just bring friends in, you can play with a team of AI. It's so massive. It's a AAA game, so it's got every option possible. But that's my favorite.
Interesting.
And I played Titanfall 2 recently. Really like the design of that game. But Ghost Recon, you know, I even like it better than Wildlands.
Okay. That's a bold statement.
Yeah.
So going now a bit into the future. So VR is slowly but surely taking place in people's lives. So how do you look at VR, and how is VR going into the future of gaming? The future and present.
The way I look at VR is that it is a limited release console. You know, people are making games for this console. That is VR. And there's a few different kinds of VR out there, but still, if you make something for the Oculus, you're making it for the Oculus. It's not working on, you know, a different VR system. So you still have to make it to that console. And that console is very expensive, so less people will buy it. And that's what VR is, you know.
So that's the reason, in your opinion, that the major companies, the AAA companies, are not doing VR games right now.
Yeah, because like what is the installed base? How many people could we make money off of? Nobody. Why would we spend money on that? You know, like for Valve, it's just the side project just to kind of do a little bit more in VR because they've really invested in VR for years now. So for them, it was like, let's make Alex. You know, let's put something really cool out there, amazing in VR to just show like this is a really fun console to put a game on. But it's not changing all games because there are a lot of limitations to VR that a lot of people are not willing to put aside when they play it. So it is what it is, and there have been billions spent trying to overcome this, but there's just these biological barriers that are there. So
would you say that VR is still a long way from being like mainstream, like any console we know, like a PC?
Oh yeah, totally. Because of the price, and just because of the human factors of playing VR games. So it's just like it has limitations for gaming, but outside of gaming, massive potential.
Okay. And you talked about Oculus VR, and it's actually one of your colleagues, John Carmack, ex-colleagues that work there. So knowing him and his work, what do you think is the next big step for Oculus VR?
Jeez, I have no idea. I mean, I don't spend my time focused on VR stuff, but I know that within VR, there's been a lot of push towards, you know, and these are things that have already happened, but like for a long time, it was like, we need the frame rate to be 90 frames, never drop below 90 frames to make a really good VR experience. And at the time that they were saying that, it was hard to have the chips pushing that much to the screen at a high fidelity. So they came up with a thing called Foveated Rendering, which basically is cameras are tracking your eyeball and where it's looking inside the VR thing, and it's only drawing those areas, right? And so things like that, because the horsepower isn't there, you know, like those techniques are there, but then they get thrown away when the hardware can really render super fast. And so there's a lot of these little things on the inside, but there's outside of VR, like walking in place in a big baby stroller thing, like all these crazy things that people are not going to glue, you know, they're not going to hold on to, are being tried to like, how can we make VR feel better? And it's just like there are a lot of physical barriers to doing it. People always, you know, like VR goes against the tried and true minimum input, maximum output. Players want minimum input. Like when I'm sitting there playing a game, I'm barely moving my hand on the mouse, but what you see on the screen is crazy. I barely have to move my hand, and I'm blowing away all kinds of stuff. I'm doing 360s, and you look at my hand, it's barely moving the mouse. Like minimum input, maximum output, everyone's used to that. So when you have something that is maximum input, minimal output as VR, where you're moving around
everything.
and getting tired and all this stuff, it goes completely against everything that people are used to, and it makes it hard for them to stay in the game.
Okay, so shifting subjects entirely now. So RTP, the project that you're being interviewed right now, it's essentially an esports project right now, and we focus a bit on gaming, but our main focus is esports. So you've already been connected to esports. So how do you look at the evolution of esports in general?
Well, it's been pretty great that, coming from, so long ago where people are playing in tournaments and getting to do that now online. First it was in person on LANs, then it turned online. It just opens it up. It opens the what can be done in esports way bigger than it could have been when you're location based. And just the fact that people love to watch. People love watching people play. Like that's the cornerstone of all real sports, right? And so esports is just the electronic version of what people are doing already, and it has exploded because the games that they're choosing have been really fun to watch. The techniques are all brand new techniques that people, like you play League of Legends, completely different techniques from Counter-Strike. So people are excited that there's these different games that they can now pay attention to, and everybody's watching them, and there's prizes and everything. So, and you have these amazing players. It's just it's replicating what happened in real sports, but it's doing it in a newer way. With cooler, different games that now don't have to be the same game forever, but can change over time.
So we already have like big stadiums filled with people cheering for your teams. We have big prize monies. So, in your opinion, and from someone who's already been connected with esports, what's the next big step that the industry has to take?
Well, geez, there's already branding stuff going on. There's sponsorship all over the place, which happened in the 90s even. So it's great to see it, continue to get even bigger. Events are sponsored. Really, the next big thing is to have stadiums for these teams, home stadiums. Like how many people would watch a League of Legends match? Make a stadium for that amount of people, and that's nothing to do with any other sport. Like you wouldn't have a center thing as big as basketball for an esport. So it would be a custom designed space with a massive screen that's bigger than anything you would see in a real stadium. So the funny thing is that this idea basically was happening in 1995 when we were at the beginning of esports, and we had people coming to us wanting to buy a whole supermarket to turn it into an esports stadium in 95. Like this was happening already back then. And today that'll be the next big step, is finally getting those teams, the regional teams, their physical locations, even though it's a virtual tournament, they could play home there on stage against the other team that's playing home where they're at, right? So you don't really have to have a visiting team anywhere. You have the home team right in front of you, and everyone's watching them, and they go nuts. So, I think that's another evolution of doing it. Not just the game part and the cameras and all the cool stuff, because, when you look at sports today, there's AR everywhere, right, all over the screen. And with actual games, it's all virtual anyway. So, having tons of different screens with different cameras on each player that's on the team. You could do a whole lot there with a stadium that had dedicated massive screens just for the team that lives there in that town. So,
it's a big world, of course. But do you think that even nowadays people prefer to play on LAN because obviously there's connections connection
fast,
is so much better.
10 gigabit switch.
Yeah,
you're never going to have latency.
There's no problems. That's let's say Counter-Strike. The place you shoot is the place where the bullet's going to go. So, do you think that eventually get to a point where being on LAN and being online would be virtually the same?
Yeah, it's getting there. The latency on the internet is just getting better and better. The improvements in technology are racing forward. Fiber is taking over everything, so fiber is gonna be the reason why latency and everything is dropped, and that these tournaments then become way more valid. Playing games over the internet that are just cloud-delivered games will be even better. I mean, right now, GeForce Now looks insane. Like, if you want to play Ghost Recon Breakpoint on GeForce Now, you can. It'll install on some machine this like 30 gig game, right? And you're playing it like it's on the machine that you're on. It's really cool, and the fiber is going to be the thing that really propels everything forward. The way that, I'll just throw this crazy thing out there, just like the way that memristor technology will change everything that we hold in our hands, and every desktop in the world is going to change because of this foundation of electronics that was just discovered in 2008 that will then revolutionize everything that we hold.
I think we just have to see how
we have to get to the point, to the evolution. It comes in little pieces every once in a while, but the full impact of memristors isn't felt yet. It's not going to be a while for that to happen. But it's like the esports evolution, the internet impact of the upgrades to fiber will be felt all over esports. So, you'll see. Obviously, it'll be on your phone, but it's going to be in sports. It's going to be in that speed, and then it's like we don't need to be location based. What new things can we do in esports when it's not everybody having to travel? Like, you could have someone on the other side of the planet playing something with insane latency, like really low latency. Because before it was like if you had less than 50 milliseconds, that's a really good game. But you could do that with fiber. Like you could actually be on the other side of the planet with less than 50. And now you're talking about real, like that's like a LAN,
Exactly. I think that's the next big point.
Yeah.
And obviously, on your biased, very biased opinion, do you think that the FPS genre and esports nowadays would be the same without games like Doom and Quake?
Yeah, I mean those games had to happen to get the evolution started. Like when I talk about Pac-Man being, a really influential game. If it wasn't for Pac-Man, there wouldn't be a Doom, and there wouldn't be a Wolfenstein or Quake or any of that stuff. So like there's always influences along the way. Like there wouldn't be a Minecraft if it wasn't for Doom, if it wasn't for Pac-Man, if it wasn't for Pong. It all goes back. Everyone's influenced by everything.
So you think that we could still have a very healthy sports environment, even if at least an FPS, even if it weren't for your both games?
Yeah, I feel that esports is going to evolve beyond these violent, shooters. Like I know that there will be something that people get excited about a ball bouncing and going in a hoop. I mean, seriously, they go insane, right? For decades or 100 years or something. They will do the same thing to a game that has so much in it, that has so many really good rules that people agree with, and has a presentation that is, completely non-violent, but like very exciting. We will get there. Esports, the way that games have permeated every demographic, like grandma's playing hidden object games. She's playing match 3 games. At some point, she'll be watching esports, maybe a hidden object esports. I mean, who knows what the esports of the future will be that grandma will want to watch, right? Yeah. She doesn't want to watch someone getting obliterated in Counter-Strike, but she might want to watch something.
I'd pay to watch my grandmother.
Yeah. There will be something out there, and that's how esports is going to really open up, is when the games change and the audience changes and everybody is watching that the way that they've been watching sports for 100 years.
Okay, so just finish up the interview. What can your fans expect from you in the near future, gaming related or not?
Well, definitely more games. We'll be announcing some new stuff. We'll be announcing some new stuff in a spectrum of things. It's not all the same stuff. So I'm more busy now than I've ever been in my entire career. So many things going on.
That's good for us, the fans, right?
Yeah, yes. So we'll be announcing some stuff.
Okay, awesome, John. Thank you so much for this interview.
Cool, thanks for having me.
No problem.